Hey nerds, welcome to Supergirl Theories and Conspiracies. I'm Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd. This week was a great episode, probably one of the best ones we've had in a while. Not only did we have a great villain with Jemm, but Supergirl's internal conflict and everything she had going on was fantastic. But really the big thing was the reveal that Hank Henshaw was Martian Manhunter this entire time. And we'll get into that in a little more, but it's just fitting because of the villain Jemm and who he is from the comics. So, Jemm in the comics is a Saturnarian. He is an alien, part of an alien race that actually were created by the Martians, from the Martians of Martian Manhunter. And there were three different groups that were created by the Martians: the red, the white, and the yellow. Jemm obviously is one of the red Saturnarians, and because we know that, we know basically what his power set is supposed to be. His power set includes super speed, super strength, endurance, heightened sentences, invulnerability, flight, telekinesis, extended longevity, telepathy, and psychokinesis. So he is a very formidable character. Now, it should be noted that in the comics, Jemm really isn't a villain. At one point, he was a part of the Injustice League, but that was because he was brainwashed by Lex Luthor. Coincidentally, it was John Jones, Martian Manhunter, who was trying to rehabilitate him from that and get him back to where he was. Now, that led into some other things where some people then were trying to manipulate it to look like John was torturing him, but that's not the case. So he is a good guy, essentially, in the comics. Currently, he is the leader of all the Saturnarian people. So, unlike in the show, not dead. But it still was a great character to use for the introduction of Martian Manhunter, just because of the history there. Now, Hank Henshaw clearly is not Cyborg Superman, but Hank Henshaw is not Hank Henshaw. The character that has been parading around as Hank Henshaw, John Jones, is the Martian Manhunter, and he is a longtime character in the DC universe. Everyone, if you've seen the Justice League or Justice League Unlimited, Teen Titans, Young Justice, I mean, he's appeared in probably almost every version of a DC animated series that's been out there. He's a very, very important character with a huge power set. So his powers, everything that Jemm and the Saturnarians have, he also has intangibility, shape-shifting, he's got genius-level intellect, Martian vision, and a regenerative healing factor. So he's even stronger than the Saturnarians. Oftentimes he's said as strong as Superman, not as strong as Superman can be, but he's in that level of powerhouse just with his strength and his abilities. So that being said, where Superman has kryptonite, Martians typically, their weakness is fire. Now, not fire from a physical danger, but it's actually a psychological weakness in that it becomes debilitating for them. Many Martians have gotten over this, including his kind of quasi-brother Malefalek, who you can actually see in Justice League Doom, which is one of the DVD videos that came out. Great one. It's based on the Tower of Babel series. But John has had issues with that in the past, so it's an interesting weakness because it is psychological. So John's origin, we heard from Hank Henshaw that he was a refugee, and his original origin is very similar to that. Dr. Zor-El was working on an experimental communication beam and was shooting it at Mars to see if he could make contact with anything or anyone there. Well, when he did that, it actually worked more like a transportation beam and beamed John to Earth. Well, the shock of John's arrival caused Dr. Zor-El to die, leaving John stranded. There was no way for him to get back because Earth technology was not at the point where he could use it, and Martian technology was not at the point where they could come get him. So John was a refugee. He disguised himself as a detective named John Jones. You can see this in Batman, the New Frontier, or not Batman, Justice League New Frontier. This is the animated film, and it's based on the graphic novel that kind of crossed from their golden age into their silver age. It's a great great read, and it's a great animated series to see that, and you do get a good origin for John. The other origin is that, and this is the one you see in the Justice League, their kind of two-part intro series, is that due to events on Mars, he basically became time dilated and was separated from everyone else in his community, in his culture, and his civilization. And so for thousands of years, he's been the only Martian. So in a sense, it feels like we're getting a couple of these origins just kind of pushed together, which they do for shows. So that's not a big deal. But other kind of cool things about John. One, at one point, he was addicted to Oreos. Not Oreos specifically, but the DC Comics equivalent of Oreos. And he tried to eat all of them in the world. There was a chemical that they were using in them, not poisonous, but it just, to Martian physiology, was addictive. And they had to detox him off of Oreos. So that's just a nice little bit of trivia. So hopefully that will come up at some point. But it's also interesting that the Martians are very similar to the Kryptonians in the fact that DC initially started off where Superman was the only Kryptonian. John was the only Martian. They did this with a lot of their alien races where you have these sole survivors until they think it'll be more interesting to bring in more. So we're getting more Kryptonians. I would not be surprised if we get more Martians. There's going to be this kind of strong story arc of we're the last ones of our people kind of a thing. So I think you will see that expanded. But the big question is, what does this mean for the Hank Henshaw and Cyborg Superman theory? Hank Henshaw died in Peru. It's still possible that when he died, his consciousness was absorbed by the host, which I talked about previously. If they really want to use Cyborg Superman, this is an easy way to do it. There may have been a reason why John was down in Peru, in South America. Maybe he was looking for other aliens that he could hide with, and if he had heard about this hidden city of the Hivlerni, then it would make sense for him to try and find a place of refuge. If that's where he went, then it is entirely possible that Hank Henshaw's consciousness was uploaded into the host, and that we could still see him return as Cyborg Superman. So, what do you guys think? Were you excited that it was John Jones who was masquerading as Hank Henshaw, or were you hoping for Cyborg Superman? Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more of these Theories and Conspiracies videos. We've got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Flash mid-season finales this week, so stay tuned for those. Until next week, this has been Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd, and this has been Supergirl, Theories and Conspiracies.